Joining us now from Cytovance Biologics is Rose Rhomberg, Senior Director of Business Development. Cytovance Biologics is an established large molecule CDMO that is large enough to support you at every stage and small enough to stay agile, providing your program with the care it deserves. For 20 years, Team Cytovance has offered flexibility and ingenuity across a full range of integrated services, supporting mammalian and microbial-derived products on their journey from molecule to commercial manufacturing. Welcome, Rose.
Thank you so much, Perry. I'm excited to be here today and speak about Cytovance Biologics. So the presentation we're covering is about large molecule capabilities overview, but essentially what it is talking about what Cytovance Biologics is able to offer to our clients and what the value is of our organization. So our key phrase here is large CDMO strength, small CDMO agility. And that agility is so key, especially in today's marketplace. We'll cover a little later today some feedback we got at Biotech Showcase in JP Morgan in January of this year. So love to talk to you about that further as the presentation continues. So why Cytovance? One key area is that we have 20 years of experience. So I have worked for a variety of CDMOs, and with that, some of them are large and established, and others have been more of a startup environment. And really, when you have a startup environment, it's a chicken or an egg scenario. So it's really important to have a very senior team in order to execute a project successfully. And yet, in order to attract that senior team, you do need the projects already in place for them. So when you have that startup environment, that really takes a while to form. And so with us having 20 years of experience, we've already gone through all those growing pains. And I think the other key value here is being based in Oklahoma with the 7-building campus. We have that Midwestern type of work ethic. So you will find that people have been with us for quite a long time. For example, we have someone in our CGMP team that's been with us for 14 years. And as your project moves forward and you come back to us, then you'll still be able to recognize some faces in the room. So I think that is also important. With Cytovance, we have both microbial and mammalian expression systems, and the CGMP manufacturing is done in completely separate buildings, so you don't have to worry about air handling or personnel flow or gowning. The U.S. advantage. So there's been a lot of political discussion about where in the world to select your CDMO. And I think there's been a lot of focus here in the U.S. So with us being based in Oklahoma, it's central, right in the middle of the U.S. So we are easily accessible from either coast. We're on Central Time as well. So that works well for both Eastern Time as well as the California offices as well. And we're very local to the airport as well. So one thing we always encourage our clients to do is come on site. I'd love to do that with you during an RFP process. And then also you have a chance to meet a lot of the other team members and just see how this is quite convenient for you. The other part too is Oklahoma has been investing a lot in the biotech community. So for example, we have an innovation district. We have a beautiful new training facility that Oklahoma had established right across the street from us. It has a ballroom style setup. So that really helps to continue to train people and make sure that their experience stays relevant over time. Why Cytovance? I think key areas that we excel at are in responsiveness, reliability, and resourcefulness. So what that means is from the very first interactions, for example, you have an RFP, we can put a CDA in place within a day or so. We can have a technical team on the call within a few days to be able to discuss some of the key challenges of a program and strategize on how we might address those over time. And because of that, that helps increase our reliability. So we have over a 90% batch success rate. So what that means is that you don't have to repeat batches, which affects timelines and also cost. And then being resourceful as well. So for example, I just had a client, they had a microbial project where the seed train was done with shake flask, and now they're going to scale up. So they wanted to discuss different innovative options to be able to move forward in the best manner. And in this particular case, we were able to offer them a working cell bank concentration. So that really helped with just the scale of the manufacturing and the viability during that process. Here it just talks about how we are mid-sized. So we just discussed a little bit about that agility, and that's because of the fact that we have about 200 team members. So that gives us enough bandwidth to be able to address all of the key functional areas from R&D to CGMP manufacturing and the quality components that support that. We've had 3 commercially approved products, and one of those we've successfully manufactured over 130 CGMP batches for to date. We work with clients both domestically and internationally, and we've worked over 250 programs as well. We've had 3 FDA inspections, which we'll cover in a bit more detail here shortly. And here to the right is our total production volume for mammalian as well as microbial. Just a bit about our history. So we started as a company called Novozyme, and we were founded by John Francis Crowley, who is the current CEO of Bio. The reason for that is that he had 3 children, and 2 of them had Pompe disease, which is an enzyme deficiency. And because of that, the average life expectancy at the time was 9 years old. They actually made a movie about this because as a frantic father, he wanted to find a solution. He connected to a professor in Oklahoma who had done some early promising research, and they did find an asset, and it did work for his children. So they are alive today. His daughter has her MBA, and she works for Make-A-Wish Foundation. So it's a great story of success and what we do and how it can really impact the lives of patients. From there, Genenzyme did commercialize that asset, and then they spun off the CDMO services. So that's when we became formally known as Cytovance Biologics. We were acquired by Hapalink USA. They did invest $100 million in the facility, so that has continued to allow us to grow and expand over time. And then during COVID, we did manufacture 3 out of the 7 enzymes needed for mRNA. And we also continue to expand through different partnerships. So for example, we'll talk a little bit more about drug product, and for later stage solutions, we have multiple subcontracting relationships in place. So clients can use the same agreement, the same PM, the same billing. So really having a complete solution for clients at whatever stage they need. Here it just talks about these 3 FDA audits. So the first one being in 2017. This was just a surprise knock on the door, and we did very well. Then we had one in 2018. This was for 2 mammalian projects, and then one in 2019 for a microbial project. We are inspection ready at all times, and we are routinely audited by our clients. So it shows here that between 2017 and 2025, we've had 85 client audits and as well as 10 QP inspections, because there is mutual recognition between the FDA and the EMA. Here it just talks a little bit about the types of molecules we work on. So you can see there's a large variety, especially between that mammalian and that microbial focus. So your typical monoclonal antibodies, but also other programs. So for example, we had a virus-like particle program that had a mammalian and a microbial component. So we were able to manufacture both of those, and that client was actually acquired by large pharma. So really exciting how we were able to take them from that initial conversation with generating phase 1 material to this wild success for their company. And here on the right, you can see that we have a variety of different indications. So we talked a little bit about enzyme replacement therapies is how we were started, but then from there we've expanded. There's quite a bit on oncology, vaccines, autoimmune, etc. Here, it covers our end-to-end mammalian capabilities. So we offer everything from cell line development through the early upstream, downstream process development, optimization. We also have platforms as well. And then from there, we move into tox batches. We can work on a variety of different scales. And then from there, moving into CGMP manufacturing from very small scale all the way up to 2,000 liter, and the support functions for that as well. So process characterization as well as method validation, PPQ batches. And to the right here, it talks about the different types of expression systems. So we routinely work with CHO, we work with HEC. We also have been working a lot with biosimilars. As you may have read recently, in September 2025, the FDA did ruled that the efficacy studies, so clinical trials for biosimilars for mAbs, have been now waived. So that's an exciting new development in the space. So certainly I would love to talk to you about that as well. And here on the right, it also talks about the platforms. So on the mammalian side, especially since mAbs are well behaved, timelines are imperative. And so you'll see timelines varying from 9 months all the way up to 18 months. We followed about 12 months. It's a risk-based approach, and we can discuss ways to either scale that back or add additionally. So it really just depends what your end goals are and how we can best meet that for you. Here it talks about our equipment. So this is typical Thermo Fisher single-use bioreactors. They have either a 2-to-1 or a 5-to-1 turn-down ratio, except for our 500-liter DynaDrive, which is a 20-to-1 turn-down ratio. So this could be good for a perfusion project. And it also talks about how we have various amber systems as well. We also have the supporting downstream equipment, so a wide variety of solutions. So it just depends on what your needs are as a client, but we can address almost all types of options. On the microbial side, we also offer strain development. So that's intracellular soluble or insoluble. We're also talking to a company about extracellular soluble. So that certainly be something that we would want to evaluate for titers, and then also for the amount of downstream process steps. And so here too, we offer everything from early stage material to tox material to cGMP material at 1,000-liter scale, and the support functions such as process characterization and method validation. On the right, it talks about how a majority of our projects are E. coli based, but we also work with Pseudomonas, we work with yeast, with Pichia, with Saccharomyces. We work with biosimilars as well. So there's been a lot of push in GLP-1s and other types of peptides. So that is something we can also offer to our clients. And here it talks about the variety of different scales for manufacturing. So we talk to a client about what their material needs are, not just for clinical trials, but also for considering how much is needed for analytical studies, and then also what the cost is of raw materials. It may make sense to scale down, but it also might make sense just to run the full bioreactor because of cost difference would be nominal, especially on microbial side where the time and suite is very minimal, the differences between the different scales. And here it talks about, again, having all that supporting equipment. So for example, with an intracellular and soluble, we have very large 5,000-liter refolding tanks. So we can offer a variety of different options for everything, including inclusion bodies. We also offer phase 1 fill finish. So that can help our early stage clients just get early stage material, and then later stage material, we offer these subcontracting relationships. So we have those with Argonaut and Alchemy, and that is very helpful, especially with analytical methods. We can ship samples and we can perform the stability at our facility so that way, again, a client can use one vendor and really have a central point of contact, whether it be for the drug substance side or the drug product side. Here it talks about how we have the majority of our analytical methods in-house. We do outsource just a small variety. So for example, sterility would be one of those, but this is very important for fast track timelines. That is something that comes up for me almost every day is clients want to see how can we get to the clinic quicker? How can we get results quicker so we can pivot? And so that way we can best use our internal financial resources. And so this analytical equipment here allows us to address almost all client needs in-house. And here it talks about the value of partnerships. So again, just having that wide network. So for example, with Saccharomyces, our strain development is in E. coli, but they also work with Saccharomyces and the validogen with E. coli. We also have relationships with Excelgene and Celthion. So for example, Excelgene has off-the-shelf RCBs, upstream, downstream optimization for biosimilars. So that's a nice area to collaborate. And then here it just talks about how we have a variety of different partnerships. So for example, with Sterling, this allows us to be able to handle the cytotoxic payloads and the conjugation for ADCs, which is, an area where there's a lot of interest. And then also on the polypeptide side, I oftentimes will talk to clients where we'll flip an opportunity if it's not the right fit, but equally we can help with peptides as well. So it really just depends on how long they are. For JP Morgan, we touched upon this a bit already, that essentially clients are looking to do more faster and more cost effectively. So in taking those conversations and really having a discussion about how does this look when the rubber meets the road. So how do we build upon this? How do we do more? With capitals moving with intent, so they want to see that plan. They may want to see proof of concept before they're willing to invest. So that would be where we would offer a stage proposal to generate some early stage material so that the clients can then raise additional funding to be able to move forward. Also, having a phase appropriate CMC plan is critical so that you're not spending money on later stage activities until it's necessary, but also keeping an eye towards that so that if there's something that can be done in that up for future success, then you don't have to go back and backtrack. Having lean teams with aggressive timelines. So with 200 people at our facility, that means that we are always thinking of ways to be efficient and to address as many needs with these team as possible. So it just helps us be reminded our clients, again, are looking to do more with less. And then quality being pulled forward. So again, part of that whole phase appropriate CMC is making sure that quality is considered at every stage in the appropriate fashion. And with regulatory uncertainty, there's been a lot of changes with financing. So for example, SBIR funding has been scaled back. And so clients aren't sure if they're going to get that funding that would have been something they could have relied on before. So having those conversations about what can we do now, what's a must, what can we delay to later, and being more of a strategic partner than just a CDMO resource. And then execution is the key part here. So just with Cytovance, so with that 97% success rate, we can deliver the material, we can deliver the reports. We also have extensive discussion with our clients so they understand very well what has been done, how they can leverage it with the budget they have to be able to move forward. With that, Perry, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak today. And thank you very much for your time.
Great presentation, Rose. Thank you for being with us today. Rose Rhomberg from Cytovance Biologics.